Emma Lenny Benyo Nide Loco. Esiku Dede Asiko yi. Hello everyone. It's Aderonke again. I hope your day is going well. Today I'd like to talk about the word Gaafara. Depends, you may hear Gaafara as well, but often with the way that Yoruba people say the word, you would hear Gaafara. I'd like to talk about the fact that it's not a Yoruba word. It's instead one of the unnecessarily borrowed Arabic words that we've Yorubanized. It doesn't even sound like it's Arabic form anymore. Gaafara. And the Arabic version sounds like gaffara, gaffar. I'm not sure actually. I don't know how similar it sounds to Gaafara. That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to figure out. But this is how it is written in Arabic. And this is what Google Translate says the definition is. So this is the word that it came from. Gaafara. It's not a Yoruba word. It's often used among I'm not sure if it was because I know it came by the way of the Fulanese during the Islamization era, pre-British colonialism era. Not sure if the efforts completely vanished after. I don't even think it did. Anyway, there's so much that can be said about religion and politics in Nigeria and present day Nigeria. But anyway, I'm not sure if the Hausas started to say it first before us, but I know that it came by the way of the Fulani clerics. They introduced the language and the religion and so on. So what happens in cases like that is we forget our own words. We start to replace our own vocabulary with Arabic vocabulary, so much so that many times we are even unable to determine. Many people are unable to determine what words are ours or what words are not. And sometimes you just get so used to saying the Arabic forms, that it's so difficult to let it go. Or the whatever other borrowed language. There's a lot of Arabic ones, but it could be English, it could be Portuguese, it could be English, Portuguese, Arabic. Sometimes there's a few Hausa ones like that. I think those are the main four. I found this in the Hausa dictionary. This is how they define it: forgiveness, kindness, and so on. In the Arabic dictionaries that I saw, it was just forgive or pardon in the verb sense. So I'm actually not sure if maybe al-gaffar or something like that would make it a noun. I'm not certain about how it works in Arabic. But these are the meanings across the board that have been passed on. I don't think the Arabs use it as a form of excuse me, but the Yoruba people do. I think forgive, pardon would be how they use it. I think the Hausa say forgiveness, kindness, pardon, and so on. So pretty similar. We use it for forgive and pardon and all that, but people also use it for excuse me, which I'm going to address, like excuse me, or as a way of introducing their intention to go into the house, to seek permission to go into the house, like ago. Gaafara. It's pretty clear that it's not a Yoruba word, isn't it? Many people, especially those that are confused about which words are ours and which ones are not, can adopt the culture of breaking words down. I know that we're not used to it, especially since a lot of us have received some form of European education or another Europe-centered education. It's not popular, except you get to 300 level linguistics class or 300 level semantics class. It's not really common that the English would break words down to see what they mean, because almost 80% of the vocabulary is borrowed anyway, is unauthentic. It's either they borrowed a word from the Germans, or they borrowed it from the Latins, or the French, or the Portuguese, or the Spanish, or the Italians, or even the Arabs. So it's not in their culture. I think breaking words down at the primary level just reminds them too much of the fact that the language is highly borrowed. And since okay, let's assume a word was borrowed from the Germans, from German. Anybody who doesn't speak German would not be exactly sure what the Germanic form of that word means in and of itself. They just know that this is the Germanic word that became this English word, and they don't know anything else about what that Germanic word means in and of itself, or how that word came to be, or but the same doesn't apply to the Yoruba language. There's always a clear thing that shows you how this word came to be. Even with one syllabled verbs, there's the tones will give you an idea of what is being expressed. So I guess that's why a lot of people shy away from breaking words down, but we really need to encourage ourselves, I suppose, to do that. To look at what our words are saying in and of themselves by breaking them down. If you look at Gaafara in and of itself, and for people who treat it like an authentic Yoruba word, Ga is to squat or to bend. We call pooping. We symbolize pooping with iga, mufeshe ga. I want to squat or I want to bend type thing. It may not even be pooping, it may be urinating as well, whatever. You just want to ease yourself somehow. So ga anyway is squat or bend. Fun ara, if combined, sounds like fara anyway, sounds like fun ara combined. Fun is for, ara is like something wondrous, something uncommon, something unique, something that is custom made or something. So squat for uniqueness, as a way of saying forgive, almost too clearly shows that doesn't make sense, one, and too clearly shows that it can't possibly be from us. So it's not our word. The strategy is really, really worthy of note, because if you compare the Hausa vocabulary, a significant portion of their own words are Arabic too. Like, what happens is when this language is coming to your diction, into your vocabulary, you use them so much that you forget about your own authentic words. When the Fulani clerics, Islamizers, came, they got to the Hausas first, and they had done some work before they came to Yoruba. Maybe the Yoruba people were a little bit resistant because there were battles that occurred, especially in Oyo, as a result of the resistance. So maybe it took some time anyway for the population of the religion to actually get far. So it's a killer language. Once it hits into your vocabulary, there's really no turning back except you're conscious of it. That's really how these words came into our vocabulary. There are a lot of words that we had that we don't even remember anymore. And we've not had time to develop our own. If there are newer inventions or something that we need to form new words for, we've not even had the time to do so because we're borrowing words here and there. Let's correct that. Let's discuss the Yoruba words for forgive or pardon. Let's discuss them. Idariji is a noun. It's not necessarily forgive or pardon as a verb. I'll tell you what the verb form is. But idariji, maybe because I'm a little confused about whether gaffara is a noun or a verb, I'm just going to address the noun and verb forms of forgive, I suppose, in the Yoruba language. Idariji is pardon or forgiveness. Idariji is the noun. If you break it down for what it is in and of itself, so that you can understand our ancestors' approach to forgiveness, how they would describe forgiveness, because it's really, if you say idariji is forgiveness, how the English people, or let me see, what language was forgiveness borrowed from? I'm going to check. Maybe it came from Old English. Or let's just say forgive. Maybe that would be better. Okay, it says Old English. So forgiven. Forgiven. Okay, yeah. It sounds very Germanic even. Vergeben. I searched forgive and it showed me, you know, forgiveness came from the Old English, but there's no forgiveness without forgive. You just have ness. So the forgive, see, Old English, forgiven, of Germanic origin, related to Dutch vergeven and German vergeben. Probably butchering those words. But yeah, see, they borrowed it from the Germans. Now, what forgive means in and of itself, I can't, what forgiven means in and of itself in Germany, I cannot tell you. I don't know what the Germanic ancestors thought of forgiveness to make them describe it as forgiven or something like that. I don't even know if you observe it deeply, it has something to do with forgiveness. So, but I know what our own ancestors thought of forgiveness. These words always wrap around the culture, or let's just say the culture wraps around the words, that you are able to get a sense of the culture from observing what the words are telling you in and of themselves. The E in Idariji, the E there is the act of. Da is to give or contribute or create or divide. What it just means is you're producing something. You're giving something, you're contributing something, you're creating something. If you divide something, you're creating. If I divide this pencil into two, I'm creating two R's. I now have two R's. I now have two. I've created another half. So divide and so on. Ori is, if you're looking for that one word, is head. But I also have a video in which I've expressed that Ori is saying something in and of itself. Head is what the English people will call this body part. Ori is what we will call this body part. But that word has something, says something about what we think of this body part that does not transfer over, that is not contained in the English version head, which they borrowed from the Germanic Haut or something like that. So yeah, and then G, 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 not G. G is to awake, or G is to spare or to let go of as a gift, or to gift. G, to spare it, to gift it, to let it go as a gift. So Idaori G, when you combine all that, you have Idari G, the act of offering one's head as a gift. Now, obviously, that would not transfer over to the English language as far as meaning is concerned. To offer one's head as a gift will sound really weird in English. I'm pretty sure it's sounding weird to you at the moment. But it's just saying you let go of your thoughts and your annoyance by giving your head to the offender. So if somebody offends me and I have all this thought, I have this anger, I have all this, ways in which I want to punish them or something. If I give them my head, I no longer have those thoughts. It's an appeal to the higher self. More like, it's an appeal to the higher self. I'm appealing to your higher self. It's like this current state that you're in your physical head, these current feelings that you have, these current thoughts that you have, let me have them. Don't hold on to them. Give them to me. Spare me from, these thoughts and this annoyance. If you have their head, you obviously can't hurt if I'm the offender and I have your head, I obviously won't hurt myself with it. Instead, I will soothe it, you know. So it's like, it's like saying, it's like holding a knife, let's say, and somebody says, give the knife to me, spare the knife to me, let the knife go, give the knife to me. Obviously, if it's given to the other person, they're not, if they are the offender or they are just the witness, they obviously won't hurt themselves with it or hurt the offender with it. The matter will be resolved because nobody is holding on to the anger. It's now diluted, so to say. It's now gone. Trying to think of the best way to explain it in such a way that it would make sense in the English. Well, it doesn't have to. That's the thing. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. There's a cultural difference that you simply cannot explain using the language that doesn't have that culture. There's always going to be a comma with that. But in essence, it's I spare my head to you. I let you have my head. I forgive you. I give you my head. I'm annoyed at you. I could slap you if I could. I could bite you. But all these thoughts are just in my head. What's the word for it? You could say it's pretty ephemeral. Apart from the fact that it's an appeal to the higher self, because it's really only the higher self that can let go of the physical self, the higher head, the higher self that can let go of the physical temporary head that has that anger. But it's like, all these thoughts in my head, all these temporary feelings, I let you have them. Like, I don't intend to do anything with them. You can have my head. Don't think of it as a behead type thing, or because this doesn't translate over at all. This is giving very much Viking Crusaders era if you translate it over to the English culture, but that's not how it is in our culture. I spare you my head as a gift. I spare you my head as a gift, my physical head my physical head that is angry and could hurt you. I give it to you as a gift so that I can no longer be annoyed with you or be mad at you. So if you say daori Jimmy or dari Jimmy, if you say daori Jimmy, or you combine this and you say dari Jimmy, you would be saying give me your head as a gift. If you combine daori, you have dari. So dari, this would go D-R-E-E. D-R-E-E will combine and give you daddy, then G, and then me. Daddy Jimmy, give me your head as a gift. And that is pretty similar to Iforiji or Aforiji. Iforiji is pardon. Aforiji is also pardon, and both are also forgiveness. These are just different noun makers. So if you use the noun maker E, works. If you use the noun maker A, it works. Aforiji, Iforiji, A or E, the act of. These are the noun makers. Fi is use. Ori is head. G is to spare or to let go of as a gift. So in this case, it would be the Aforiji or Iforiji would be the act of using one's head as a gift, letting go of one's annoyance by gifting one's head to the offender. So if you utter a statement like Fiori Jimmy, you would be saying give your head as a gift to me. Spare me the anger that you feel for me right now. Forgive me. Spare me the thoughts of punishing me or hurting me or retaliating or being mad at me, or whatever temporary feelings are in your head. Or there are certain people that can hold on to a grudge that they are not temporary at all. They could last a lifetime. But whatever it is, let me have your head. Give your head to me as a gift. Forgive me. Give your head that contains all these thoughts give that head to me as a gift. It's an appeal to the higher head, to the higher self. Another one is iyonu. That's another noun for pardon or forgiveness. Iyonu. And I'll explain what this one means. The I there is a noun maker, the act of. Yo is to melt. Inu could be inside, but it could also be the insides. So the heart, the heart, the feelings, the everything that is just considered rather inward, the thoughts, the heart, the mind, the insides, the mind. Maybe let me just say mind, I guess, because that seems to cover the heart, the brain, the mind. The act of melting the insides or melting the mind. It's like considering the insides, the mind, to be in a frozen state when one feels offended by somebody or something. Almost feels like it gets frozen. And sometimes you feel you could say the weight in your chest as you feel that bitterness, that anger. You almost feel that your chest is a little bit heavier than usual. You don't feel light at all when you're in that state. So iyoinu is letting go of how one feels in that manner. So your inusimi would be melt your insides to me, if you transliterate. But that would be let go of your anger, of your annoyance towards me. It's like melt your heart towards me, or melt your heart for me, kind of. It's also an appeal to the higher self. It's also an appeal. Melt your heart for me. Forgive me. The heart is in the heart is in a frozen, bitter state when it's hungry, when you're offended. But when you let it melt, you let it go. So your inusimi would be a better way of expressing that than gaffara. Once you, I guess, encourage yourself to retain what our ancestors thought of things, rather than the Arabic versions that you know nothing of, that doesn't necessarily translate over to your own culture. When you let yourself embrace a level of authenticity when you're speaking your own language, there's an ancestral connection that comes with it, I have to say. Preserving these words would always be the closest way to reach our ancestors, to reach their philosophies, their ways of life. Not losing them is very important. Don't say, oh, you're overreacting. What are you talking about? Using all these borrowed words much more than our own words is not problematic at all. The Hausas will beg to differ. The Hausas, if you look at the Hausa today, you wouldn't know that they used to be liberal, is not even the word, less dogmatic about certain things. Was it not recently that a youth group of students in a university, mind you, banned a student for saying that the school's WhatsApp group should be used for academics only, not for preaching Islam? And she was burnt as a result of that. There's a level of craziness when you're using these words and you're spelling them, especially with the Hausas, where it's now over, I would say, dare say, over 50% of their vocabulary. It has adverse effects on even the mind. Language controls the people. Once your language is diluted, you can't say that it doesn't affect you. Whatever language you speak and whatever approach, whatever philosophy is behind that language, behind certain words, would affect you whether you think of it consciously or not. Anyway, that's Yonusim. Another one, which would be the last one that I'll do, because I have several others in the video I made on the fact that Yoruba people don't say the word sorry, that we don't have, well, not the word sorry, but we don't have an equivalent of sorry in our own language. Instead, we express sorry in different ways. We express forgive me, you know, and all that in different ways rather than sorry, because sorry doesn't, it's like, is it like sorry to you or sorry that you feel that way, or it's a very vague word. And I expressed just how vague it is in that video. I'll probably link it so that you can watch it. Ifowowonu is the last one that I'll be treating under the forgiveness or pardon category. Ifowowonu, pardon, forgiveness, and the I there is a noun maker. The act of, fi is use, owo is hand, wo is to rub or to soothe, inu is the insides, the mind. When you put all that together, you have the act of using the hands to rub or soothe the insides, to rub or soothe the mind. So when a Yoruba person does this gesture to you, you know, they are saying, you know, it's like having this this knot in your mind, in your chest. When you're angry at somebody, you can almost, many times you can almost taste bile on your tongue. You can almost taste the bitterness. The energy gets so strong that you can, feels like your mouth is dry and bitter, even that, like there's a knot in your chest. But this gesture, ifowowonu, and even the word ifowowonu is using the hand to rub the insides, forgiving, letting go, pardoning, you know. So fi owowonu is use your hand, use the hand to rub the insides, you know, to do this. Use your hand to soothe how you feel inside. Fi owowonu is a way of saying forgive me as well, or pardon me. Again, another ancestral idea of expressing forgiveness, you know, or the act of forgiveness. Fiowowonu. It's like a way of saying forgive me. But as opposed to Gaafara or Gaafara, you can just say fiowowonu. That's our way of expressing that Gaafara is not a word. Now, in the excuse me sense or the make way sense, you have ago or yago. Ago would be more like the excuse me, or may I have your attention, or may I have your permission to proceed type. Should I say equivalent? Probably not, but ago would be a word for like expressing that, excuse me, may I have your attention. And especially if you're going to a house or something, I'm going to link that video in which I've expressed what ago could be. Many people in present day Nigeria go into people's houses and they say Gaafara, a Gaafara, or something like that. Is ago. Ago is the proper word to use, not Gaafara, because even the Arabs don't say Gaafara upon entering a house. It's just awkward. It's like, forgive me. Forgive you for what? You know, it's not, it doesn't, again, that's the problem with not understanding the language before jumping on the bandwagon. But anyway, they would say salam or things like that. I've never heard, I have a lot of Arabic people around me. I've never heard them say Gaafara before entering your house. So, no. Ago is, if you want to say excuse me as in make way, you say ya ago or yago. Ya ago. You say yago. I'll link the video so that you can watch and see what the breakdown of these word and phrase is. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. Thank you to my patrons and my YouTube members for sustaining me. And I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.